Hello everyone! Welcome back to this game. When we last left off, we were continuing our night of reflection. We've already found out what was going through the minds of our other three heroes, and now we're coming upon Uri. He was the one that we were not able to choose until we were already through the other three. So I feel like Uri's scene is going to be the most important here. Uri muses, "Josh, man, you were him all this time. The Lord of Darkness, what everyone in this world calls the devil himself. But no matter what your reasons were, I'm not going to let an entire world be lost for the sake of one past friendship. No matter how far we might go back, you, me, and Lynn and Dusk, this is it. We are finished. The people of Elvenia, to whom you've caused unimaginable suffering, are our friends now." And suddenly I have a raid! Oh my goodness, I have a raid! Thank you for the raid! Okay, so, to everybody who is showing up, we are having a night of reflection here, and Uri is reflecting on the fact that the Dark Lord is apparently someone he knows and once called his friend, and in fact, the Dark Lord is the brother of one of our teammates. Doesn't that figure? And this ghostly lady here is one of our angels, our guardian angels, who supply us with magical powers so that we can fight the darkness. So you are resolved, then. We are grateful, in spite of the pain that humans' betrayal must be causing you. No worries about us Earthlings, Pryan. But hey, I knew I wasn't wrong when I tried to justify to Wraith why I chose to hang with you instead of her. You are pretty hot, just as I had thought. This is also the first time that our guardian angels are revealing themselves physically to our heroes. Pryan says with a sigh, "I know we wouldn't be called angels without the virtue of humility on our side, but is it really too much to ask for just the slightest hint of reverence in your tone?" Uri contritely responds, "You're right. I'm sorry. You came to me with open arms that first day I was stuck in Itsuki village and was about to lose everything. Not just my life, but all hope for Elvenia also, as it turned out. At Wraith's hands when she attacked, just like Ares and Charmies did for Lynn and Dusk when they, too, were about to lose it all. So I can't pretend you are not a vital part of me by now. I should have trusted you with more respect and sanctity all this time, I know, because you did not lie when you promised me that you really are an angel of heaven like you've always said." Pryan wordlessly bows in acceptance. "I just wish you weren't the only human I have ever watched after who admitted he would miss no longer having me at his side when the time came for us to part, Uri." Sigh. Zeales. "I'd like to ask, though, Pryan, why now? What made you decide to present yourself in a visible form, when always up until now we could only hear your voices? That was something you'd consciously chosen to do, not appearing on the physical plane, right?" "Yes, we were able to determine ourselves whether or not you Earthlings were prepared to meet us face to face. Although, I must confess that it is also more out of necessity than a matter of proper timing that we've at last chosen to reveal ourselves to you. For my sisters and I have much more than our appearances to reveal to our human servants on this night, and we need your absolute trust in us now more than ever, for I doubt any of you will be happy to hear our confession." We cannot allow our bond with each of you to be compromised now of all times, or else we four have failed as angels, pillars of hope, and worse yet, as guardians of the Elvenia we have sworn to protect from the darkness. Don't worry, Pryan. Whatever it is you feel you may have had to withhold from me, I'm not going to abandon you now. I believe in your sincerity, and I'm not going to stop believing in it. But I must ask, what could be so important that you feel you've ever had to lie to me about it? No, I can promise you this, child. We, the Solus Emzu goddesses, have never told an untruth to you or any child of Serena. But we have withheld something from you for a long time, and even now it shames me to feel myself slipping like this. For these days I cannot grasp the wisdom to know whether it was right or wrong, what I have done. I feared you would lose all hope in our cause to save the Blue World from the Dark Lord. Or, worse, you would find reason to never believe in the light at all. Please just tell me, Pryan. I'm as ready as I'll ever be to hear it. No matter what, I've made up my mind to bring Joshua down for what he has become. Elvenia does not deserve what evil is doing to her. I am glad to hear that. Pryan stops murmuring doubtfully and assumes a determined expression. We know not the whereabouts of the mother. Ari looks more curious than angered. I know, without a trace of doubt, that our mother is still here somewhere in the world. In anything, it has become clear at many desperate crossroads in our journey together that Serena's divine love still reaches to us somehow, and shields us from evil when we are at its mercy. That is the wrong use of R. But we cannot actually find her. We believe that she is being imprisoned by the Great Dragon somehow, and the Elvenians' slowly waning faith as the Dark Lord's plans come closer and closer to fruition is only suppressing Serena's power to guide and watch over us on this journey. She has not stood vigil at the highest point in heaven all this time, as you may have been led to imagine, confident that everything will soon be right with the world. And on our own, we, the four Solus Emzu angels, can do nothing about it. Forlorn sigh. Missing? A goddess? Pryan, are you being completely honest with me here? I am, child. I know it may sound like a well-intentioned, fabricated bedtime story like that horrible woman Wraith once said of the mother. But she exists, child, and heaven and the world would not have been without her. She cares for and watches over the universe she made. Surely you have seen and experienced enough in this world to realize that. But, in spite of my defensiveness, there's no explanation I can offer for being too afraid to reveal all that we angels have known about the true nature of the Great Dragon and the Divine Mother that he has always despised. Okay, slight off-topicness here, but every time they say Great Dragon, I think of the name that I was using to create my games for a while. Great Dragon Gaming. And in fact, over at YouTube, my YouTube channel, the URL is GD Gaming, short for Great Dragon Gaming. Imagine if I was still creating games under that name. Lazarus says, every time they say the Great Dragon, I think of me. Well, you are pretty great, I guess. What do you mean, Pryan? True nature? A terrible thought comes to Uri's mind. What else aren't you telling me? This isn't just something as simple as defeating the Dark Lord so that Elvenia will be free of any kind of oppression and Serena can resume her reign over the world again. Is it? Pryan hastily looks away, shutting her large violet eyes and brushing away a few forming tears. Uri, my sisters and I, face the strong possibility of our complete destruction tomorrow. What? You can't mean... Pryan shakes her head mournfully. We, the 4 angelic pillars of Elvenia, can be sent to oblivion by the Dark Lord himself. And if the people of Elvenia lose all remaining hope in the cores of their souls, should Zenobia emerge victorious in our battle against him, the goddess of fate may very well be forced to relinquish all power over the souls of her children to her despicable nemesis, and he may be able to take everyone in Elvenia into eternal darkness as he pleases, against all will. Oblivion, or eternity spent in the dark and endless well that is the birthplace of evil. Either way, it may be more than just the world's freedom that Elvenia has to lose in this battle. Pryan, how is this possible? What about this place called heaven that you Elvenians believe in so much? It's like you are telling me suddenly that an eternal haven where one can be safe from evil does not exist. The Dark Lord can destroy the world, or he can rule over it and create such misery and terror for the Elvenians that they would all rather be destroyed than live in a time of darkness. But shouldn't that be all he is capable of? Can Serena not at least use the safe haven of the heavens, a place you have always taught us where evil cannot possibly exist, to take her children back away from the dragon? So, you mean it will be all over for Elvenia if we lose? Pryan sorrowfully says, if only the world itself and the earthly lives of the Elvenians were all we had to lose in this, child. But think, Serena is only as powerful as is the faith that her people have in her. Despite this, I do not know for sure if the dragon has the power to enslave souls by force, no matter how far the Elvenians' uncontrollable fear has left the Divine Mother bereft of power to fight this darkness on her own. But I am certain of one thing. The soulless Emzu goddesses can be banished forever from the mortal world if the Lord of Darkness destroys our physical bodies. We gave the very essence of our divinity as angelic beings to Serena's care when we made that brooch, Uri. Thus, our immortal hearts now lie in pieces, scattered across the entire world thanks to Zenobia's crime against all that is good in destroying it. And that is why he can make it so that we will never be able to enter the world below heaven again, by his destroying us as we are now, virtually mortals just like any of you. Man, I know you once told us the story about the destruction of that brooch before, Pryan, but I had no idea the consequences were this bad. I hope I didn't miss any. They're completely optional. And yet, little do you know, child, that if the Dark Lord destroys us in our battle against him and is also able to prevent the Mother from reclaiming the lost pieces of our divine hearts, then we will not only be banished from Elvenia, but we will not exist in the heavenly realm either. Ugh. That's an uncomfortable thought. The 4 highest daughters of Serena won't exist at all. Yeah, let's go ahead and stop that from happening because non-existence is sucky, to put it lightly. We're going to beat Zenobia, you know, Pryan, so none of this will ever come to be. Pryan fondly responds, "Thank you, dear child." However, it is because of this very nature and purpose of the darkness that I am at least compelled to ask the 8 Earthling and Elvenian heroes to assist my sisters and I in one final great quest one final great quest before we go to Rosa Cloud and end this journey at long last. I knew something else was going to be happening before we go to the final dungeon. So what is it? A tremendous and humanly unfathomable quest, actually. Unfathomable? Oh boy. Sounds like real trouble for us again, if even after every quest we have survived so far, you still use an adjective like that to describe the next one. But I would be even crazier to turn down a request from anyone in Elvenia by now, Pryan, so please, go ahead. I and my sisters wish to request of the 4 heroes of Elvenia on this evening that they help us save the human I formerly cared for before you, Zealis Arden. And to do this, we must conquer what has become the most dangerous and forbidden realm in Elvenia aside from Rosa Cloud itself. Paprika Desert? Really? Because to my understanding, that's like the dungeon that is housing the game's super boss, and the guy is going to be so tough that it's actually recommended to not fight him until New Game Plus. So, do tell. Zealis, that guy you told us about while we were in Kalinka, who had been one of the Lunar Silver Knights? The one who helped the Dark Lord break that sacred brooch made for the Goddess of Fate? But why would... Ari stops speaking when he notices the looks of sadness Pryan gives him. Oh hey! Sarah's Knight is in the chat! Hi SK! So, to everybody who is still in the chat, SK there is one of the game's creators. And yes, this definitely is a scene longer than you remember. Basically, this scene has been taking me the entire stream. I mean, of course I know why, Pryan. And as suicidal a venture as this would probably be, you know we'll all say yes. But still, as important as he must be to you, why try to save him now? The Dark Lord isn't going to just wait for us, is he? Well, I mean, this is an RPG. And if we beat Zenobia, then all of the darkness in Elvenia will leave with him, right? So then Zealis will be free to leave his prison. Serena and the Solus Emzu goddesses can then be free to admonish and minister to him all they want, and we won't have to risk our lives out there on the same continent as where you say the first real sin was ever committed in Elvenia. If the Paprika Kingdom is practically the gateway through which evil came to Elvenia, then we all run a serious risk of losing everything by going there right now. That is true. And you know very well that you and your friends' lives are of utmost importance to us 4 Daughters of Heaven. But we would also be unfaithful to our duty as guardian angels by the very definition were we to deliberately let Zealis go to the darkness like this, even for the sake of coming to all of Elvenia's aid first. What do you mean? We need no longer worry about time, I think, for it is now evident that Zenobia cannot fulfill his grand design before getting rid of the few heroes who oppose him. But for Zealis, the piteous lost child I feel I have utterly failed, he himself is a part of the darkness, Thus he too will fade away from Elvenia forever, along with every demon, monster, and hideous thing in the world should we defeat the Lord of Darkness before reaching out to him. That poor soul who knows not life from death or right from wrong anymore. He still needs me. We can help him. I have to try this one last time. Pryan is calmer. But we goddesses cannot go this distance without our heroes accompanying us. Not as far into evil as the land of Paprika has fallen. Hurry, will you and your friends please lead the way for us angels into the heart of that dark and dread kingdom, where all that is good and beautiful has been shorn away? We need you mortals now, as much as you have always needed us. If everyone else has agreed to it, Pryan, then of course. Yes. Pryan is hopeful. Only on that one condition? Yes. But I'm pretty sure it's safe for you to get your hopes up. After all, why would any of the Elvenians in this group ever say no to sticking their necks out for someone else? Pryan says with a relieved sigh, "Thank you. Truly, you earthling children, and these 4 brave Elvenians who have joined our side, are creatures of Serena's world that we guardian angels have not failed in our guidance." Pryan, it does seem like a pretty terrible crime against you for an Elvenian to have done. But he is, or was, an Elvenian, wasn't it? So, Serena must especially care for him then, just like she seems to care for everyone in the one world that has not completely forgotten her like the Earth has. Is it even possible for an Elvenian to be lost to this same abyss that the great dragon came from? Allow me to answer with a question of my own, Uri, and perhaps you will understand. What is it you believe is the greatest act of evil that one can perform in this world? The one thing that can forever condemn one to being a part of the darkness? Well, I have always heard Elvenians adamantly claim that no one in this world had ever taken the life of another before the time when the person I had once known as Joshua made the decision to let the dragon manifest himself in Elvenia through him as the Dark Lord, king of everything evil and heinous in the blue world. Uri sees Pryan's face. But as it isn't murder, something that the people of Elvenia cringe at the mere thought of above all else, nor any other deed one of the Lunas Over Knights might have ever done during their reign, is it? No, child, it isn't. Even such cruel deeds as the ones done by a man who lived for violence such as Gorgon Ghidra can be forgiven, as we may have recently witnessed in this case. Please think, what is every atrocity that descended to Elvenia from the distant abyss, including the great dragon himself, seems to have in common? Only with a strict GA like you, Pryan, could even as a hero in my own RPG, I feel as though I am back in school in my own world again, stressing out while taking a particularly brutal exam. But I really am trying. I get it now. Unbelief, right? He not only cares nothing for the light, but Zeles would much rather it not even exist. It's like the apathy, or rejection of light, that Wraith tried to once tell me I have through my shadow, except an even more extreme kind of apathy shadow. And this is what makes him almost as much like the great dragon as the Dark Lord himself is. Pryan thoughtfully responds, "Yes. It seems I cannot really teach you any further, child, if you understand this. Unbelief is not just one cruel deed among many that are representative of the darkness, but, rather, the cause itself of evil's existence. You may think it is only innate hatred for everything good that fuels the dragon's purpose, but it is unbelief that birthed that hatred in the first place, the darkness's reason for existing at all. I never would have thought of it that way. In that case, I'd say we have a pretty weighty task on our hands then. It certainly will be something no mortal would dream of trying to do, but by now we goddesses cannot begin to call any of you ordinary mortals, can we? So, tomorrow morning, instead of busting up into the Dark Lord's crib, we just may be embarking on one last mission of mercy, huh? Well, let's try to make the best of it, Pryan. Pryan tries to smile as she agrees. One last crazy Good Samaritan adventure we can all share before our story ends and we say our last goodbyes for the remainder of this life. This life? So, that means when we die and go up to heaven, we'll have to put up with you four goddesses all over again? We'll never truly be rid of you. Sigh. Man. Huh. Oh, I got control now. Okay, well, SK is here, and I don't want to waste this opportunity, so we'll go ahead and not end this stream just yet, and go on one more break. And when we come back, whatever Lynn is up to, and then I still want to do some optional stuff. While we wait for the train to go by, there is something that I've been wanting to show for the longest time, and it is promotional art for this game. There's apparently a lot of art that was made for this game, and for example, there is this one. This is a really cool image. It was apparently drawn by some guy named Lamar Wells. If the name sounds familiar to anybody, it is because Lamar Wells eventually went on to do art for Archie Comics, which is kind of cool. This was created before he joined Archie Comics, so you're seeing a little bit of art before this guy became quasi-famous. And he has a bunch of other art that he made of the game. I don't necessarily have the art on hand, but I do have a link to where art was posted, not only from Lamar Wells, but from a couple other artists as well. Unfortunately, most of the images are hosted on PhotoBucket, and PhotoBucket is doing this thing where they put these ugly watermarks on their images. So, though, seeing this art that was created, all of this promotional art for this game was really interesting. Lantis and Sarah's Knight really wanted this game to be a big deal. This was a big passion project. Not to mention a big game. I'm, 50 hours into this game at this point? Anyway, the train has gone by, so I will go ahead and resume this cutscene. Okay, confession.